What is the difference between the Axiom 105 stiff and the Axiom 125X? I'm going to hit a few shots with the Srixon ZX7, and I'm also going to hit a few shots with the Srixon ZX4 because it's a bit more of a fun stick. The Srixon ZX7 is more of a mid-cavity club, so it's a bit more designed for control and precise landing areas on the green. And then I'm literally going to use the Srixon ZX4 to see how insanely far I can hit these shafts and how they compare when I'm going flat out. Now the reason I've got a 105 stiff against the 125X is because there isn't a 125 stiff in the Axiom shafts, or at least not in the UK. Now the reason they gave me for not having a 125 stiff is because the stiff and the X would be very close to each other, so there's not much need for a stiff in the 125. But so be it, we're going to have a look at what the difference is in the different weights of these shafts. That was awful. So we're going to look at what the difference is between the different weights of these shafts. We've got VELOCORE tip technology right here, which makes the tip more stable. So when you hit it off center, you don't get as much deflection, you don't lose as much speed, you maintain more distance. So you in theory get more consistent landing areas with each of these shafts. Now the benefits I've seen so far in the 105 is that we can get more speed because the shaft's lighter, but maintain stability compared to something heavier. And normally you do have to go heavier in weight to get that stability and consistency, but it might cost a little bit of speed. I've got a yellow ferrule on the 125X, so you can sort of see which one I've got in my hands. I'm going to call this one ball B, this is the 125X. Oh, I didn't read it. I think that T's in the way. Not as solid as the one that didn't read, that's a shame. Nicely on the green. So I want to get a grouping of 5 shots. Nice, similar sort of flight, same direction, same shape. That feels quite hard and solid. So with more weight in the shaft, we've got extra material in there, which gives us even more stiffness and rigidity from the shaft. So we won't get as much reaction in terms of the shaft bending and releasing into the ball. So I hit that a little bit low on the face and thin, but we've still maintained flight, which is really nice to see. Normally with a heavier shaft on, in most cases we get more weight, so it's harder to get the club into the ball, so we leave the face a bit more open. So generally speaking, heavier shafts go to the right hand side just a smidge maybe. Each golfer is different. And we tend to see a little bit less speed, but does it give us more efficiency in flight to get that distance back? We shall see. Fairly high shots, so I'll be looking at how much they spin compared to each other. I'll be looking at the heights that they produce, because if one's slightly lower, maybe it's going to be better on a windy day on a windy course, so long as it's not compromising things like speed, strike and direction. So up in the top corner we've got the yellow ring, which is slightly bigger. It's a bigger spread. I'm getting more tighter dispersion with the 125X, and that's normally something that I see in a shaft comparison. We've got the same carry there. More variance in the 105, less variance in the 125X, lovely. I did see these same sort of comparisons from the Modus 105 steel shaft compared to the 105 stiff. So it's interesting to see a similar pattern when I've got a different spectrum of shafts doing the same thing. I'm slightly faster with the 125X. I've got slightly higher launch and I've got more spin, which I do see quite a lot in wedges and irons with a stiffer shaft. More spin, more control. But then it does also depend on the ball striking of that individual golfer. So you need to test it for yourself. Let's get the ZX4 head on there and just see how insanely far I can hit these shafts, because the ZX4 is a nice hot happy club head and I call it a fun stick. The ZX4 is a hollow head construction. When you see like a hole on the end, it's because the head is hollow. When they're manufactured, the heat's got to come out of somewhere, and that's this bit here. That allows us to get a thinner face that's got a bit more spring on it, and in addition to that we've got a stronger loft, so the ball is going to get thrown further up. I just want to hit this as hard as I possibly can just to see what comes out. So we're starting with the 105 stiff. Wow, a tiny bit thin. Absolutely travelling. That's picked up a little bit of carry even with a slight misstrike. Nice. Same again, flat out. Solid off the face, good strike in the air for ages. I've moved the green slightly further back to see if I can push myself to get the ball a little bit further up. The ball I'm using is the Strixon Z-Star Diamond, for those of you that care. Wow. Look at it just stay in the air for ages. 198 carry on the green. Like I say, the ZX4s are absolute fun sticks. They fling the ball for miles. Oh, especially when you drop kick them. Maybe trying too hard. Trying too hard. That was so bad, I might have to delete that from the pool of data. Very silly shot, gone just as good as the ZX7. There we go. In the air for ages. Lovely. Now I've got the 105 stiff in my ZX4 4-iron and I absolutely love it. Could I get more out of a 125X up that top end? Maybe. Or could it simply be too much? 125X ZX4 off the toe, maintaining the shot. I've slapped that out the toe and it's still getting there. Well, not quite. It was really bad. Nice solid shot. Getting up there. Go on, reach. Release. Oh, close. I have got the pin at 215, which is rather ambitious. Oh, little push. Feels so solid. Chasing it. Bit of variance when you try and go too hard. I'm getting aggressive. I'm going beyond assertive swings. And that's always going to cost a little something. So this is assertive, not aggressive. And we're fine. Don't push yourself too hard, that is plenty. 194 carry. Just scraping the front fringe. So on that comparison where I'm going quite flat out, we're getting fairly similar distribution of the balls. Distance wise, we're very, very close, 1 yard in it. Variance 6, variance 5, okay, very similar. More spin on the 105 stiff, okay. Faster on the 105 stiff. So when I'm going flat out with the lighter shaft, I'm getting more speed through the ball. And the stability of that 125X is just holding that flight down, not spinning as much, kind of maintaining flight through efficiency because it's lower, it's spinning less, it cuts through the air better, and holding it up there, but we're not winning on speed. We get better speed with the 105. The red ring, which is the 105, does have a little bit more spread round here, but there is one really silly shot that I left in this pool of data that's maybe just giving it that little extra on that right-hand side. And even with that silly misstrike in there, it's still maintained as good as the 125X. So for me, I think the 125X is just a little bit too much, but I really, really think that that could be more viable at the bottom end of the bag. Almost more like a combo set, where you have a combo set of more cavitied irons at the top and more bladed clubs at the bottom. Maybe you could do a split set with something like this, where I'd maybe change at the 6-iron, go 105 stiff, 6-iron and above, and then go 125X in the bottom end of the bag. What do you think about that? Do let me know in the comments if you think that's a silly idea or a good idea to do a combo set with shafts. Have you done it yourself? Have you ever seen it done in the past? And don't forget to subscribe if you like what this channel does and you want to see some more comparisons of shafts and heads and things like that. Do watch another video if you don't mind and enjoy yourself.